Green Talk, organized by the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka, is a monthly educational series designed for learning, sharing, and meaningful discussions. Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to the January 2026 edition of Green Talk, organized by the Education and Training Division of the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka. Today's session focuses on urban agriculture in aging cities of the global south. And to make today's session interactive, we encourage you to engage by posting your questions or comments in the chat. And there will also be a dedicated Q&A session where we will address your questions from the chat and allow you to speak as well. Kindly note that during the speaker's presentation, we request you to keep your microphones muted to avoid any interruptions. Now let's move on to today's session. Today's session titled Planning for Less. Planning for Less, the urban agriculture in aging cities of global south, a topic that is both timely and increasingly relevant as cities across global south face growing pressures from urbanization, climate change, and demographic shifts. To guide us through this important discussion, it's a pleasure to introduce our speaker for this evening, Dr. Chethika Gunasiri. Dr. Chethika is a researcher and sustainability specialist working on urban ecosystems and sustainable cities. Her research explores urban nature-based solutions for climate-resilient cities, urban agriculture as a planning tool, urban green spaces for and human well-being, water pollution in cities, and the emerging challenges of aging cities in developing contexts. She completed her PhD at the United Nations University Institute for the Advanced Study of Sustainability, Japan, and recently completed her postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Tokyo. Since 2014, Dr. Chethika has served as an environmental scientist at the Wetland Management Division of the Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation, contributing to key national initiatives which includes the Colombo Wetland Management Strategy, the Ramsar Wetland City Accreditation for Colombo, and the design and planning of Diasaru Park and Gothatuva Wetland Park. She has also served as the South Asia Regional Representative of Wetland Link International Asia and as a member of the Sri Lanka Expert Group on Invasive Species. Dr. Chethika has published widely on urban agriculture and urban planning in Sri Lanka and is actively engaged as an environmental educator, promoting urban nature-based solutions for more resilient and inclusive cities. Dr. Chethika Gunasiri, on behalf of the Green Building Council of Sri Lanka, we warmly welcome you to the January 2026 edition of Green Talk and invite you to conduct the session.
Thank you, Abhirami, for your kind introduction. So let me first share my presentation. I hope you all can see the presentation, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thanks. So first of all, good evening, everyone who joined today for this webinar. And I think this is the first webinar of this year, the first Green Talk, as I got to know, for this year. So thank you so much, Green Building Council of Sri Lanka, for inviting me to talk about, as Abhirami mentioned, actually one of the emerging fields in urban planning and related areas, especially in the developing countries. So thank you so much, Green Building Council. So the title that I was thinking to put this for this presentation, actually planning for less. Some quite kind of a, like a, it's not something that we hear like very often, because urban planning professionals or professionals related to planning and designing, we always talk about more, like more people, more like public money, more land use, like land pressure. So we like quite really rarely talk about something like less. Uh, but actually, now it's getting time that we have to think about uh, less people, less land pressure, and less public money. So, but the reason that I use this word less for this presentation does not only means like few, it's something going beyond than that, which you will understand while I'm doing this presentation. Let me start the presentation. Yeah, so I think as urban planning professionals, you all might aware that the world is shrinking and aging. Even though we are talking about a lot about urbanization, the reality is world is slowly going towards the shrinking and aging. So from this, actually, this the time frame map you can see during these 7 to 8 decades, how the cities, the population of cities like have changed from growth to the declining. And by 2030, so you can see from the green color patches, especially the dark green patches, like cities with negative population growth can be like seen in widely spread across the globe. So this is the urban reality we are facing right now. So I'm pretty sure that you all aware, you have all studied and you are all using this, the urban space, the spatial cycle model of cities. So like, I'm an environmental scientist. I talk about like the life cycles of species. Likewise, the urban planners, we all talk about the life cycle of cities, like which we can see some like a very distinct phases: urbanization, suburbanizations, disurbanizations, and again, so the city is starting growth. So this urban shrinkage comes into this phase, which is called disurbanization. There are many like a technical definitions for urban shrinkage, but this is like a very simple definition I have taken here. So urban shrinkage is a multidimensional phenomena. It does not talk only about population declining. It is characterized by other dimensions such as economic decline, physical urban decay, and resulting in, like having more vacant lands, and also like demographic shift, like more aging people, like that. So there are many reasons for urban shrinkage, or many drivers we could say: economic decline, demographic changes, suburbanization, as well as conflicts, man-made and natural conflicts. There are cities in the world, even right now there are certain places, due to like wars and other natural disasters, they completely became a kind of a like empty. So urban development, so the urban, this all these drivers finally leads for urban population decline, which causes direct and other direct and indirect consequences, including aging, underuse and vacant the land plots, as well as unemployment, disinvestment, like many social and economic consequences. So, as urban planning professionals, what are the challenges we have? So, rising aging population, definitely, because urban shrinkage and aging population are goes hands in hand. And also this, so when the population declines, it will reduce the public revenue. So the maintenance of city infrastructure and as well as other facilities would become problematic. Then social fragmentation, because I have seen, especially in countries like Japan, certain cities, like we only can see like elderly population. We hardly see like a youth or very like young people there. So social fragmentation is a one uh, main problem, and abandoned lands and houses, underutilized infrastructures, and also like spatial distribution of non-productive spaces, which creates a lot of social and economic issues. Like it reduces the health of urban landscapes. Then it does not they when there are so many vacant lands which are kind of like abandoned lands, so they're not attracting investors to the city, and also they create a lot of social problems, like they attract many crimes, as well as uh, finally the poverty also increases as a result of these urban declining. So now, so far, like until recently, the world is was like more concerned about this issue, urban shrinkage, aging population, only in global north or developed countries, especially in Far East Asia as well as certain parts of Europe. But now this is no longer limited to the global north, and it's becoming a critical problem in global south context as well. So from these graphs you can see that so how they have predicted like the urban shrinkage and aging will be uh, common phenomena in less developed countries. And also like the graph at the right hand side of the screen, we can see that uh, even in 2050, like how it's predicted that the elderly population is more becoming more common in developing countries as well, especially in Asia and South America. So it says that in 2050, one of five people in poor nations will be over 60 years old. And also this is going to be really critical problem in Asia. And one out of four Asians will be older than 60 years old by in 25 years time. So this is another comparison how it shows in different parts of Asia how this aging population is going to be a problem. So far, it's a very significant problem in Far East Asia, where countries like South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, China. But you can see with the time this the rise of aging population is increasing in South and Southwest Asia. Why global south is more vulnerable for urban shrinkage and the aging? It's because of faster demographic transitions. uh, the demographic shift from like getting more population, the larger portion of the population like elderly people in Asia is happening faster than in other parts of the world. And also still most of the the global south countries like us, we still have growth oriented planning system, we still planning for urbanization, population growth. And also the one of the main reasons is actually global south countries are developing countries, either they are middle income or low income countries. So urban shrinkage, aging communities are incurring a huge cost for welfare especially, and this is going to be a real trouble when it's happening in developing countries. So that's why it says growing older before getting rich. So the developing countries, we are growing older before getting rich. But this was not for like European countries and Far East countries like Japan, Taiwan, the South Korea. Even they could manage somehow because they are developed countries. They have like a strong economies to manage the consequences, the economic consequences of urban aging. So the planning of shrinking cities. So there are different strategies actually to plan. So either we can do nothing, like decline as a vicious cycle, let the cities to like decline and decay. And also we can go either expansive strategies, like that means like the setting up or the keeping population within city borders. So they have like they tend to expand the city borders gradually. Then the maintenance strategies. So that means like a lot of cities are like implementing this strategy as well. They do a lot of stuff like changing their urban infrastructure and building like a lot of attractive things to attract and for people to their cities. And the other strategy is planning for decline. That means smart shrinkage. That means adjusting physical structures, financing. So we are planning for the future decay or future decline. So most of the strategies are like countries are implementing right now, they're focusing on short term solutions. Like they are not taking it as a like a long term demographic shift. So they just want to either to expand the population in the city, like next for 5 years, 10 years, like attract more tourists for the cities. Likewise, like short term solutions, but planning for shrinking cities or the smart shrinkage actually need long term integrative and dynamic approaches. Uh, so open space under shrinkage. So this is like as urban planning professionals, what we are really need to think about when it comes to this urban shrinkage and aging. So these are the challenges. I'm not going to like repeat again. Most of these challenges I explained in earlier also the challenges under urban shrinkage and aging, like reduce health of urban landscapes, it which creates economic pressures as well as the social problems, and also these open spaces like abandoned kind of like vacant lands or the plots also create some opportunities, because like these green spaces actually they can provide many ecosystem services to the city, as global the developing countries which have not utilized in much of our urban development plans. And also they can provide new green economic opportunities like urban forest, urban agriculture. Likewise, so not only like challenges these abandoned vacant lands provide, but also opportunities. So yeah, so then why growth-based planning becomes inefficient? Because in growth-based planning or planning for urbanization or population growth, so we always create a design oversized infrastructure, which is going to be a problem when the population start declining. So, and because when the population is low, so these structures will be like underutilized, but still they need a maintenance cost. And also most of the in the growth oriented planning, the drainage, road systems, they are designed for peak demand. But with the population declining, most of them become idling. And also there will be some other maintenance cost, and as well as like even the like incurring the cost to the government also will be a problem because the population declines. So finally, all together, like will lead for huge budgetary pressures. Uh, what does planning for less mean? So that's what at the beginning I said. I am not meaning only planning for few people, few land pressure or like that, but this has something like a bigger picture. So planning for less mean designing for flexibility. So the that not very rigid plans. So because the demographic shifts happening, the climate change is uncertainty, so we have to always think about flexible plans. And also planning less, another meaning of that, or another dimension of that is managing land as a long-term asset, which we have to consider in long-term planning. And also when we are planning cities, we have to like not only the number of infrastructure or like how big they are. No, we have also have to think about focus on their quality, resilience, and efficiency. Quality in the sense, as a city we have to think about what is the quality of the people in there, how much resilient the city is, how much resources in the city is efficiently being used. So all these things are reflecting by when we call planning for less. Why then global south needs like long-term planning? Because long-term plan prepare for demographic reality which we will face in future, and which could create a lot of like, I would say, critical economic and social issues. And also this helps to avoid cities become locked into very expensive, like high maintenance, heavy urban infrastructures. And also when we create long-term plan, it allows us to adapt land uses gradually. And also if there will be like a surplus spaces, we can repurpose them already because we are planning for long term. And also this allows reframes, or this reframes success from more buildings to going for like better functioning urban systems. So we are not thinking about the quantity, but the quality of it. Then also it enables early integration of age-friendly multifunctional land uses. And finally, long-term planning also, in long-term planning, the extra lands or the additional abandoned lands become an adaptive asset, so which will where they can be considered as green infrastructure, and as well as the climate resilient the, the 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 green spaces which enhance the climate resilience. So so developing countries, or countries in global south, currently most of us are in the stage of growth, and we are in a threat of going towards urban shrinkage and aging. Then how? So we need adaptive and flexible land use strategies. So then it's high time to rethink about our open spaces, because it's understood that idle open spaces is a liability for the city, and also productive open spaces needs to become the infrastructure. So then can urban agriculture be a one such option for this? So why urban agriculture works in aging cities? There are many studies have been done, like especially in the countries, the global north countries, which are experiencing already urban aging and shrinkage, and how urban agriculture is helping to create sustainable and resilient cities in their demographic shift, because urban agriculture provides multiple benefits. So it provides health benefits, social benefits, economic, environmental benefits, because they are very productive urban green spaces. And also another important point is they are small scale and decentralized, not like huge economic agriculture or industrial agriculture. Urban agriculture, farming areas in cities are very small scale, and they're scattered in everywhere, not like a one central structure. And also it's very flexible land use strategy, because since their size is like, the scale is small, they are very flexible. When you like, like a small plot that you start farming, and the next day, if you don't, and if you want to build a house there, of course that you can change it. But imagine like changing a park into another land use, it causes a lot of like time and a social pressure like that. So low capital and maintenance cost, because they're small size, so it doesn't, like in industrial agriculture, it doesn't need a lot of machinery and other inputs. And urban agriculture is always community oriented, always people, they are very active green spaces, and also like they are very attractive to aging populations. Even in Sri Lanka, we can see a lot of farming is being done in cities by elderly people, our parents, our grandparents, because they are very connected with this, and it gives a kind of like a therapeutic a benefit for them, like a social, it allows them to like a connect with other people, and a psychological like benefits and something like that. So all they are very attractive to aging populations than the other green spaces. uh, so now we are not like thinking urban agriculture as like the farms which provides only food, or just doing it as a hobby. It has like a very, it goes beyond that when it comes to urban planning. So urban agriculture is at present is considered as a green infrastructure as well as a land use strategy, because it provides so many multifunctional benefits, and which are helping to overcome many urban challenges. So, in this presentation, I thought to share some of the findings that I did in which I yeah, got one of the studies that I conducted in Sri Lanka, which is like I was studying actually how urban agriculture can be used as a long-term open space management strategy when Sri Lanka is shifting from growth to shrinkage. So, This study was conducted a few years ago, and so I am happy to share some of the findings and show like you how urban agriculture can be used as a long-term planning strategy in developing countries like Sri Lanka when shifting from growth to decline. So is Sri Lanka aging? So that's a question that we need to uh, clarify first, actually. But now the society has already started, not the society, I would say, like the professionals have already started talking about this. We also like going towards a demographic shift. And so it's high time to do the necessary actions, the policy actions, and the other actions as well. Yeah, Sri Lanka is considered as one of the fastest aging countries in Asia. So this the population uh, the composition diagram shows that currently, according to the 2012 census data, 12.4 of our population is above 60 years. And it will increase to 20%, and by 2041, one-fourth of our population will be uh, elderly people. And also it says in seven or like in 6 years time, 2032, there will be more than 50 million older people. And we can see from this population pyramids how our population, the structure of the population pyramid will get distorted with this increasing aging population. Uh, so this is the Colombo's urban reality, actually. So the recently 2024 census of population and housing data was released. And according to that, in Colombo district, 19.3% from the total population is 60 plus years. And I have taken one of like the newspaper articles talking about the abandoned buildings in Colombo. We all witness, like, when we go in Peta, Kolpiti, that area, there are so many the buildings are uh, abandoned and vacant, and also we can see some like vacant land plots which have not been used for any other purpose for a long time. And also we all know that Colombo is having a high flood risk, and even recent the disaster shown how much Colombo is prone to the flood. So the study area that I took for my study is actually Colombo district, which covers 13 divisional secretariats, and this is according to 2024 population data. 2.3 million people are living in Colombo district, and also I analyzed like population growth rate in Colombo in GND levels. So this calculation was done few years ago, not based on the recent data published in the population and census. We can still see certain areas in Colombo is even though we see visibly Colombo, the population is increasing, but there are certain areas the population has a negative. And also these are the urban agriculture the models that I studied. I basically studied small scale urban agriculture. I omitted the plantation sector, which is also a common land use in Colombo district, but I omitted that part. So I took only the small scale urban agriculture areas in Colombo district. So the study design, actually, I surveyed 402 farmers, urban farmers in Colombo district. I wanted to identify what are the current farming situation, benefits they receive, and challenges, just to understand how urban agriculture helps for a city which is under growth stage. And also, I maybe you also were part of this survey, actually, which I conducted a few years ago. I also surveyed 93 urban planning professionals to identify requirements of urban agriculture from urban planning perspective under future urban shrinkage and aging. So to understand how urban agriculture can support in countries like Sri Lanka during the future urban shrinkage. So for this, I actually used a specific method called future design concept, because if we go and ask from anyone what do you think urban during the urban shrinkage, how urban agriculture would support? So they might answer based on their current experience. So this will create some intergenerational conflicts. Maybe like, the P generation who will be living in a few decades, uh, in future they might think in a different way. So this future design concept, which is being currently used in urban planning activities in Japan, so they consider the survey people as imaginary future planners. So they give a scenario, okay, so which I used in my study. So I gave a scenario in 2100, year 2100, Colombo will undergo shrinkage, aging, and this will be the city like this, and these are the challenges, and these are the goals that city need to sustainable goals. Based on that scenario, what do they think? They have to answer the question that I asked. So this is a one survey method that we can use, which helps to reduce the intergenerational conflicts up to a certain level. So then I'll share a few of the study findings actually. So what people value in urban agriculture. So from my survey, I found that as the current benefits, people get a lot of many ecological benefits, educational benefits, health and emotional. And the urban planners think in future, educational benefits, ecological, again, health and emotional and social benefits will be useful in future Colombo shrinkage scenario. And this is very interesting finding because most of the time we hear that developing countries, urban agriculture, most of the studies have proven that gives economic benefit, financial benefit. But from my study, what I found actually in Colombo, like in global north countries, urban agriculture provide non-cash benefits compared to the economic benefits. Uh, so then who benefits most? Then I found that mainly elderly people, women, and low income households get more benefits from urban agriculture. And they prefer to do farming as home gardens, interestingly, community gardens, which is not that common in countries like Sri Lanka. But I asked, like, they say that they prefer to, like, engage in farming as groups as well as small scale commercial farms. Then I also investigated where do they like to, do farming in cities. So the farmers, they answered me, they like to cultivate in their home gardens, like vacant plots and land associated with the paddy lands. And planners think in future, urban agriculture would work best in home gardens, land associated with paddy lands, and especially urban waterways reservations in Colombo. And also, this study found that from urban planning perspective, land areas less than 1 acre are more suitable for urban agriculture activities in Colombo. And also the farmers said that they prefer to, the travel for farming activities within 1 kilometer distance from their home. Then I did another economic analysis of urban agriculture as well to see how urban agriculture would help to avoid cost for many like few urban functions. Like, so from this, I mainly investigated like how urban agriculture helped to reduce flood management cost in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, as well as reduce the water treatment cost. So from this study, what I found actually, this study is mainly did for the paddy lands in Colombo, not the other home gardens or any other scale urban agriculture because of the data availability. So it found that paddy lands in Colombo, every 1 square meter of paddy land worth 81 US dollars. This study was like done 2021, 2022, and it gives a flood controlling worth of service. And when it comes to gray water treatment, 1 USD. So this is like a one aspect of economic benefit of paddy lands in Colombo in terms of flood management and wastewater treatment. And I also found that try to find out perception on gray water irrigation actually. So I found that urban farmers, more than 65% of them, they love to, engage in gray water irrigation, and planners think in future under shrinkage situation, gray water irrigation will be like a very common or most suitable method. Oh, so then finally, so what these, the findings, like how these findings can be, the implied, what they implied, and what are the outcomes of this study. So, how urban agriculture can be used across urban phases? We are Colombo. We are currently facing urban growth, but we are going in a direction towards urban shrinkage. So, this from the findings of this study, actually, it shows that we should promote small size urban farms in the city, and why urban small size lands are suitable for farming in cities. It's also like goes with in normally in shrinking cities or in when cities are like getting aged, we can see multiple small widespread urban vacant land. So this actually photo shows like a which I saw in Tokyo. So Tokyo is a very like a, it's a highly populated congested area, but you can see this kind of abandoned land parcels. So I got to know this particular land actually have been vacant for like more than decade now. It's government owned, and due to this the big condominium you can see next to that land, it's planned to relocate, which has not happened for like 1 decade. So because of that, this land is vacant and it's not using for anything. So urban agriculture is kind of a like a good strategy to use in this kind of lands as a temporary land use, because when that land is going to use for its actual purpose, especially like easily it can be converted. So urban agriculture, that's why urban agriculture is easily transformable for other users when required, because once you make a park in here, so it's very difficult to like change it into like another use, because like the the investment of creating a park is so high, and a lot of infrastructure comes. So it's kind of like a rigid structure there. And also urban agriculture, small size urban farms, they are more productive because they provide multifunctional benefits. And also when selecting future areas for farming in our cities, uh, we have to prioritize areas with lower population growth rate and high uh, flood prone. So here I have mapped according to like multiple criteria. What are the suitable areas for urban agriculture in future, and which have like overlaid with the population growth map in Colombo district. So then urban agriculture is should be used as an open space management strategy. It is very important to integrate into urban landscaping strategy as a green infrastructure component. We can design a small size short distance urban community garden in Colombo where elderly people and especially focusing on elderly people and women. And also community gardens can be developed in spaces like canal reservations, which most of the time are not being utilized for like activities, or like or underutilized, I would say. Railway reservations, and most of these public reservations have been encroached by by the people. So this can be a good strategy to stop the encroachment as well up to a certain level, and as well as other public places. And also, like urban agriculture should be considered as a social infrastructure because it enhances the equity and inclusion. So I have taken here the public outdoor hierarchy of parks in Sri Lanka. So as urban planners, professionals, we can think about how urban agriculture can be used as a land use strategy in incorporating with these public outdoor or like hierarchy of parks, which have been published by the UDA. And these are like some of the community gardens which I have visited. Like that I saw that how active these places are, and a lot of elderly people are using these places. This is in suburb of Rome, and they have, so it's rather than it's a farm, it's a kind of a social place for the people living in neighborhood. And also, I recently saw this news, abandoned football stadium in Taiwan, how they have converted into a large community garden. Uh, so then also urban agriculture need to be integrated with the urban functions. So urban agriculture can be used as a decentralized strategy in stormwater retention, solid waste management, water treatment, as well as incorporate into microclimate regulation plans, climate resilience plans, climate adaptation plans, and designs and policies. And also urban agriculture helps to promote food, water, energy nexus. So now we are like thinking about the nexus approach in cities, which provide multiple benefits connecting different components, and which we can use through this. We can promote wastewater irrigation as well. So urban agriculture also needs to be considered as a nature-based solution. So this can be used as a decentralized wastewater management strategy in urban poor areas or marginalized communities are not which are lacking a proper wastewater treatment plants, which has become like a main problem for urban water pollution in cities like Colombo. And also like city like in Colombo, we have a lot of urban waterways which are not economically utilized. So urban floriculture, this picture is from Bere. You might have seen like Bere has become little bit because we all have a kind of a very negative feeling when it comes to Bay Area, but having these floating wetlands in there, it helps to enhance the our perception on Bay Area. And also I have seen that a lot of birds have been attracted to there. So there is a possibility that we can utilize our canals in cities like for this kind of floriculture, the floating wetlands, which also creates maybe livelihoods for the marginalized communities living in around like besides the canals. So this is a result of another study that I recently did. I uh, studied that what is the willingness of using treated wastewater in urban marginalized communities in Colombo. So I selected one particular underserved settlement and see whether they have like a positive or a negative perception on using treated wastewater for irrigation as well as fertilizer. Interestingly, 62% of the population that I surveyed, they like, if they are given a chance to do farming, they like to use to treat their wastewater and using for irrigation. And so this is maybe because like y'all are members of the Green Building Council. So how urban agriculture can bring to to buildings to make them more greenery. Of course, rooftop farming, which is widely done in even in Sri Lanka as well. So the Singapore has already started concept called edible buildings. They are integrating, they have converted the walls of huge like large high rise buildings into like edible structures. So this is another a very interesting thing of like building integrated agriculture. And also it's worth to see that the to regulate the urban agriculture or to bring this the urban agriculture into the regulation, building regulations as a residential landscape strategy, like introducing minimum green space standards for houses and condominiums. Now there is a requirement to keep minimum open space, but what about have a regulation to keep them as essential mandatory green spaces, so then people have a space for them to to grow or to do engage in farming. And also it needs policy transformation. So we need a separate policy for urban agriculture which emphasizes the multifunctionality. We need to think about long-term urban planning. So that means we have to go for smart shrinkage and should integrate with public outdoor recreational standards. So how about like modifying the planning and building regulations and linking urban agriculture with other planning agendas like flood management, climate resilience, and as well as encouraging public, private, and public community partnerships to promote community gardens. So this is how I'm thinking of this urban agriculture. If we want to use urban agriculture as a flexible adaptive land use strategy for smart shrinkage. These are the things that I'm not going to, since like, we need to have some time for like Q&A session. I'm not going to like go one by one, how we can, integrate with this green building certificate in Sri Lanka. And the key messages I want you to like give through this presentation: urban aging will fundamentally reshape how cities perform. So global south or developing countries like us, we need long-term urban planning to tackle this in a smart way. Productive open spaces reduce long-term urban cost. So rather than idling open spaces, we need to convert them into productive open spaces. And urban agriculture has a lot of strengths to enhance the urban resilience. And also green building achieve maximum impact, not only consider them as isolated or a building or a structure, but when they are integrated with productive landscapes and urban systems. So that's the end of the presentation. So the finally, I want to stop this presentation from finish this my presentation from this: planning for less is not planning for few, but planning smart. Uh, Abhirami, so it's the end of the presentation, and I'm open to the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chetika, for that interesting presentation. That's really an interesting study, especially the outcomes. The women and the elderly population are really engaging in this urban agriculture. Those are kind of interesting outcome of those study as well. And thank you very much for sharing that interesting study with us. And now we can open the floor for Q&A session. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can ask them too. All right, I think there is one question in the chat, like why Sri Lanka not considered about the urban agriculture policy like any other South Asian countries? Because Sri Lanka has mentioned home gardening in the national agriculture policy like that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Actually, we have agriculture policy which mentions as a one sentence about urban agriculture. Only that, what we can find about like urban agriculture in terms of policies in Sri Lanka. Uh, that's quite interesting. Why? Because even in our main, like the capital city, Colombo, agriculture is a long-lasting practice, and we still have the agriculture. Because in most of the capital cities, it was a practice like a few decades ago. With the development, it has been disappeared, but still we do have. So that's very interesting. It may be because agriculture has urban, or the agriculture in cities have not taken as like a very serious thing, because like, as I said, it's like, so far, or maybe reason until recently, it has been considered as okay, so something we are doing it for, like, just to get like a veggies, like, vegetables or whatever the food we want to, like, or we need like, nutritious food, like healthy food, so that's it. Or like which is something we do it as a hobby. So other than that, the other, the benefits or the ecosystem services of urban agriculture have not been evaluated or assessed or taken into consideration in terms of policy. But I think with the COVID, like in many other countries, farming in cities going more beyond the, it provides, it helps for food systems as well as doing it as a hobby. So other benefits like, farming as a social, it's like a social ecological the a system, or something like that, the was like came up with this, the pandemic, where even in like in many other countries, in Colombo also, or even in urban areas of Sri Lanka, like, the urban farming became a kind of like a trend. But now I can see in slowly that in policy level, these kind of green areas, green spaces are being, discussed, but still that proper attention to it as a green infrastructure is not there. maybe that's the reason because still we consider our planning or the policy makers, we still consider them as like a, just like a small activity what which we do it for fun, not to relax or something like that. But especially in developed countries, urban agriculture has been incorporated into their plans, the planning agendas, not only urban planning, other like, related climate change plans, climate resilience plans, flood mitigation plans. Yeah. So they have been identified.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
And also, I think like still we think in global developing countries, farming in cities just only to provide food, healthy food, or like a economic activity gives some like for marginalized communities, or like, or maybe like, in the commercial scale it gives like economic function. So the social and the, the other ecological climate resilience functions have not been recognized, but in global north those are the functions have been recognized. That's what I said, like this, the study that I did, that finding was quite interesting. It showed more than the economic benefits, people in Colombo get more like, the social benefits, and it provides a lot of ecological and climate resilience benefits. Where should we start
Yeah.
the practices and what are your recommendations? Practices, I assume that you are asking about like a, like in policy level or like a planning stage. I think first of all, we need to identify urban agriculture as a component of green infrastructure in our cities, because we still don't identify them as green infrastructure, and and we need to have a like a proper definition even, like, because otherwise when it's like a vague, there is no proper definition. It's very difficult to go for the planning things. So we need to identify first urban agriculture as a green infrastructure component, and then we need to integrate. First we can start with, the urban recreational standards, and then think about other urban functions like, the flood management, wastewater management, and carbon sequestration in cities. So we have to then link urban agriculture and their benefits, and to them, for that actually we need to have a very thorough investigation how much flood is, urban agriculture areas are helping in a particular city for, the water retention, how much water can be, treated, how much carbon sequestration is happening through the, the farming, and how likewise, we have to go for like, scientific kind of investigations, and then go for like, making policies out of that, or like connecting them with the urban planning agendas. I think there's another question, right?
No, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Thank you.
not clear.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jant.
Are there any other questions that we can take up? Yes. Yeah, thank you. I think these step-by-step suggestions that you gave would definitely bridge that gap between, the initial level to the, especially the pilot scale studies and beyond that, like, because
Yeah.
sometimes we restrict ourselves to
So
the
urban
pilot scales, but it
agriculture,
should,
yeah, true, true.
yeah.
Urban agriculture is still, it's a kind of a study or like something to be like, which is considered among agricultural, professionals in Sri Lanka. So it has not gone to this urban planning, that's what like, thank you so much, Green Building, like, council for like, giving this opportunity. So I, humbly request, you all are like relate connected to urban planning in Sri Lanka in different levels, in different, the aspects. So it's high time to we need to consider this as a, other than going it's like a, the agriculture value, like, it's like how the benefits can integrate with the urban planning. Actually, in any country, urban agriculture is not a financially viable option. So why we need to promote, or in order to promote urban agriculture, we have to bring out all its non-financial benefits.
And that opens up that we have more research opportunities as well.
Yes.
Because to get the scientific evidence-based data, especially we have quite a few undergraduate researchers here. So I think that these are some interesting
Yeah,
areas
yeah.
that.
So from urban planning perspective, actually, so we need more, like more research, because when I was doing my PhD, like it was very difficult for me to find, the reference or the like, the literature on urban agriculture in Sri Lanka in terms of urban planning perspective. So yeah, I invite you, like, so you all to like, it's a good area to study, especially in Colombo, because we still have, it's a it's a living city that, where urban agriculture is like, it's not something that you need to introduce, it's already there.
Indeed. And with that, there is another question actually. Is there any direct opportunity to establish your research finding to ground practices?
uh yeah, actually, I have, like, published my work, actually, where uh that, anybody can, see, get, and, because these are scientific information which is important, also important for, like, the planning as well as policies. And also, as a working for government, sometimes, like, through our project, like, I have, like, tried to bring some concepts, like, to promote urban agriculture. And because most of the people that know me as, like, I'm working on wetlands in Colombo. So even in your introduction, like, uh, Colombo wetlands was the, like, the kind of a buzzword, but the part of the Colombo wetlands are actually agricultural areas. So the 50% of wetlands in Colombo wetland complex is agricultural areas. So when I'm working on the wetlands in urban areas. So this urban agriculture, like, it automatically comes under that. But the findings which I have done, like, and as well as this is like a few findings that I presented today. I have developed some urban planning criteria for next 100 years for Colombo, actually. Still, I did not get a chance, uh, to, like, to establish in the ground level. I hope, y'all can, do that, because y'all are the urban, planners, the professionals, or maybe like decision makers.
Yeah, there is another question also, Dr.
Yes.
Chetika, like,
In front of
yeah, in front of unpredictable climate
uh,
change, disastrous
no,
conditions,
of course,
and
like
connected
through,
and
yeah. So that's what I was saying, that, the plan, or the entire presentation, I was talking about flexibility, adaptive. Of course, we cannot have, like, a strong, rigid plan. So that's why we have to go beyond this, the growth oriented planning, like towards, or maybe like not go for like a very short term planning, go for, like, long term planning, because they are very flexible, because and they're very adaptive also, because we consider like a very long period, and uncertainty is one of the main, aspects of long term planning. Anything could happen. So that's the reason, like, of course, we cannot go have, like, a strong plan for urban agriculture. So urban agriculture cannot be integrated like as a strong plan, because it itself, like a, very flexible, transformative land use. So when it integrates with that's why it can be integrated as a long-term planning strategy. For example, like, other urban spaces, like, let's say, urban park, or like urban forest, they are kind of like, less flexible. And also, since their scale is small, and, they're so they're very adaptable, actually, for climate change scenarios, or like, change, like we as well as other the changes could happen in a city urban area, so they can be easily adaptable.
Okay, so are there any other questions? Okay, maybe we can wind up the session in that case. So thank you very much, Dr. Chetika. That I hope that today's session provided all the attendees like a very different perspective to the urban agriculture, I would say, because we generally talk about the financial benefits, but this gave a whole new different level of perspective because we shouldn't only consider it should be the social and other aspects. And it's quite interesting to know that it's easily adaptable and it can be integrated into any other policies as well. So it's a very interesting study and an interesting session. Thank you very much, Dr. Chetika. So, as we conclude, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the Green Building Council for generously accepting our invitation and sharing your time, experience, and this interesting study with us. And with to our audience, thank you very much for your active participation. I think with that we can wind up January edition of Green Talk, and we look forward to welcoming you once again at our February edition, which will be held on 25th of February. Until then, stay safe, stay inspired, and let's meet once again.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.